Hello, everyone. It's Tuesday, March 24th, and we're here with our Lenten devotional, and we're finishing our fourth devotional of submissions from Barb Hendricks. And today's submission is on behalf of her late husband, who I actually had the gift of knowing. And so my story to open us today before the reading of this obituary is I was a pastor at Hope United Methodist Church, the associate, and Barb's husband was very ill, and she was caring for him in the home, and it was Cantata Sunday, and I had the blessing of creating space on Cantata Sunday morning to be present with Ed in their home so that Barb could go and have a moment of peace with her community of faith and listen to really just music that reminds us of the journey towards the cross and also the resurrection that comes from that journey in solidarity with people on the margins. And this memory really reminds me of the ways in which we're called to create space within ourselves through prayer, through meditation, through breathing. I've been doing yoga, which isn't very usual for me, but one of the benefits of this has been really this breathing and thinking about, creating space in different ways in our bodies through that breath and through that stretching, which I think is a really vital skill and practice for us in just this time of heavy uncertainty. Kaido Williams, who is a Zen priestess, talks about the definition of love being to create space. And a space that we can hold one another in the reality that we sit, but then that we can also imagine that hoped for best version of our communities, of one another as individuals. And so I'm thankful for the ways in which I have been invited to create space in schedules that were much busier weeks ago to create sacred moments of memory. So today I invite you into a sacred story that you too might be woven into this memory as we read together Ed's obituary. Ed was born on June 17th, 1950 in Detroit, Michigan. He grew up in Dearborn, graduating from Dearborn High School in 1969. He spent many summers with his Aunt Eleanor and Uncle Ralph at their lake home, swimming, boating, and catching turtles. After working briefly for General Motors, he began the adventure he called his life by moving to Santa Barbara, California. Now he was a guy who liked to drive, so he headed to California via Florida. Not the most direct driving from Michigan, but giving him the opportunity to see so many wonderful sights. Ed worked many jobs throughout his life. Among these were tending bar at the Denver Country Club, running his own remodeling maintenance company, and caring for plants in office buildings, including the office of the coach of the Denver Broncos. He finished his employment career working for his favorite boss, Grandma of Grandma's handyman service. He was an exceptionally skilled handyman, being meticulous in his drywall, tiling, and interior painting work. He took great pride in his gardening, carefully pruning his roses, constantly planting additional beautiful flowers, and enjoying his bountiful tomato crops. For several years, he enjoyed beekeeping, introducing Katie to the techniques of harvesting honey safely. Each year at Christmas, he spent several days assembling the village of buildings he had carefully painted. Each year, the design was slightly different and continually grew. That village this year covered 12 feet of tabletop. Every morning, he made eggs and bacon in his cast iron skillet. While claiming he was not a picky eater, he certainly knew what he did and did not like on his food. Ed owned 2 vintage cars, a 1966 Ford Thunderbird, which he joyously drove to Ohio, Oregon, and most recently Montana. and a 1958 Buick Roadmaster, which he completely restored over the past 3 years. This past summer was the first time he could show this Buick at weekend car shows. He was so happy when, at his second show of the summer, his Roadmaster was voted Best Show People's Choice. Most weekends found him on the road driving one of those cars with his car buddies. He also enjoyed scuba diving, which he took up while still in high school, learning to dive in the cold lakes of Michigan. Every morning for many years, he went swimming, as that was his favorite form of exercise. Traveling to see new sights, nature, photography, and Mexican food also were parts of his life. He had two loves of his life: Margot Finney, his first wife of 25 years, who brought his niece Devin and her wonderful boys into his life, and his wife of 8 years, Barbara Herbal. Ed was so touched when his stepgirls would phone him for car handyman advice. Throughout his life, Ed seemed to always be surrounded with women. He was so happy when in May Zach got engaged to Emily, because finally there would be another guy around the table. He was also blessed with many, many friends from the Rocky Mountain Thunderbird Club and Mile High Buick Club, the Recoupled Group, and others. Ed also filled his life with several furry, four-pawed companions. Most recent of those were Cheddar, his tabby cat, and Ellie, the mutt. Ed, 63, departed this life at his home surrounded by his family on January 10th, 2014. He was the beloved husband of Barbara Herbal Hendricks, loving stepfather of Emily Herbal, her fiance Zach Urlich, and Katie Herbal, and devoted uncle of Devin Zastro Newman. Ed, this is a farewell, not a goodbye. While we may not see you in person again, we will forever remember your presence, good spirit, and warm smile as we go forward. Someday, at some time, we will all join you as we shine up the paint, check the oil, fire our own Thunderbirds, and join for a good long drive. So today I invite you to create space in your imagination for the good long drive that you want your life to be, because we only get one shot, and you are loved more than you will ever know. You matter in this world. And so I hope you live a life that reflects all that matters to you. Be well.